Oh look, BlackRock. Here's a name. Here's a name that you're definitely going to be hearing a lot of over the next few years. BlackRock are a good and honest company. Yes, by buying everything. BlackRock president warns entitled generation to put their seatbelts on over speeding inflation. BlackRock's helping to cause. BlackRock president Rob Capito warned that a very entitled generation of people, very entitled in the sense that they would like to own things, would soon have to face shortages for the first time in their lives. It's not the first time. Uh, pardon, as some goods grow scarce because of rising inflation. Sorry, I'm drinking a lot of Lucozade because I'm still just getting over the flu. For the first time, this generation is going into a store and not being able to get what they want, Capito said Tuesday at the Texas Independent Producers and Royalty Owners Association conference, an annual oil and gas industry convention. We have a very entitled generation that has never had to sacrifice, Capito added. Sorry, we have a very entitled generation that has never had to sacrifice, said the multimillionaire. Without stating exactly which generation he was referring to, when he says generation, he basically means other people, the poors, the plebs. What do you mean you want to own a house? Nice try. We're buying them up, cash in hand, at 30% above the market value. Capito says that many people who had always had everything available to them at the supermarket would soon face scarcity inflation, the consequence of shortages in anything from workers to oil, housing, or silicone chips. I would put on your seatbelts because this is something that we haven't seen, said Capito. Yeah, we have. We've seen this before, Capito. You just didn't notice because you're a fucking millionaire who co founded BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, along with CEO Larry Fink and retired Vice President Susan Wagner. Uh, Inflation is already at a 40-year high in the United States, and it is accelerating across the globe as Russia's war in Ukraine pushes oil prices to record highs and COVID-19 supply chain issues exacerbate price pressures further. Now, the COVID-19 supply chain, that isn't really, that's like governments did that. Governments could have just kept the entire machine ticking along, but they decided to throw a bunch of spanners in the works, and we are the ones who have to pay the fucking price for it. We're having to pay, a steadily increasing price. In fact, by the time I have finished this sentence, the price will in fact be even higher. Global inflation shock. Price inflation in the US hasn't been this high since the 1980s. Man, I wonder what happened. Really? That's crazy. I wonder. Sounds like something happened in the 70s that caused the money to inflate. I wonder what. I wonder what happened to the money in the 70s. A Gallup poll published Tuesday reported that concerns over rising costs are the most pressing worry of just under 1 in 5 Americans, double the number in January. The annual inflation rate in the US stands at 7.9%, the highest 12-month change since June 1982. Now, one thing as well is we always like to talk about governments and their ability to steal from us, or as some people like to call it, taxation. Another form of theft by the government is inflation itself, because it's usually the government and its fucking complete mismanagement of the state that causes such things. For example, there was inflation and there were scarcity issues during COVID, and the reason for that was because of regulations that government put in place to fight, a virus. A virus which obviously didn't give a fucking shit because the rates are still high, everybody's still fucking getting it, and the government basically made us suffer for 2 years for absolutely fucking nothing. The highest inflation ever reached was in March and April 1980 when the price of West Texas intermediate crude oil peaked at $138.37 a barrel, and inflation hit a record 14.6%. In Europe, which is more exposed to oil price shocks due to its dependence on energy imports and its proximity to Russia and its war in Ukraine, things are equally dire. With the cost of living rises across the continent, Spain on Wednesday announced a 9.8% year-on-year rise in consumer prices, an almost 40-year high that shocked many analysts. And another thing that's happened to pretty much everyone in Britain, it's even happened to fucking me, is my energy bills fucking doubled. My energy bills fucking doubled. I'm still using the exact same amount of energy. However, because of all this fuckery that's happening with Russia, all the fucking oil and gas and everything has went fucking sky high. Because we won't do fucking nuclear. We won't do nuclear because everyone went. Remember Chernobyl? Yeah, the place that was built by fucking communists and was actively fucking mismanaged into the fucking dirt. 3.8 Rontgen, not great, not terrible. You did not see graphite on the roof. Those guys, yeah, fuck them. Like nuclear's the answer, if I'm being perfectly honest. The inflation, but then again, we've built all those wind farms. We have all those wind farms. Why aren't they doing the job? The inflation spike is due to generalised increases in most of the price basket's components. The country statistics office said in a statement these included increases in electricity prices and fuels and oil prices and in food and non-alcoholic beverages. And of course, we will not be getting wages to match these increases. So the divide between rich and poor has been increased yet again, and yet again it has been caused by government regulation. Sorry, my throat and everything. That's why I don't usually drink Lucozade, but you wouldn't get it. It's a Scottish thing. Whenever you're not well, you get Lucozade. It's your grandmother, your gran will usually buy it. Germany is releasing its inflation data later on Wednesday. It is likely above 7% for March, according to Reuters. As already released, is it Reuters, Reuters? I have no idea. As already released, a regional data from 5 states has surpassed analyst predictions. Eurozone inflation data for March is scheduled to be released Friday, and polling indicates it is expected to be above 6%. Expect tax increases, by the way. Because the amount of money is inflating, basically the amount that governments are taxing you doesn't exactly have enough punch for it to keep the country running. So expect tax increases as well. A Reuters poll of analysts pointed to an overall annual CPI rate of 6.3%. For March, and the EU harmonised inflation figure for the overall price increase across all EU states is projected to come in at 6.7%, far above the European Central Bank's 2% target. Yeah, it's over tripled the target. As inflation trickles into supply chains and production, it threatens to undermine the continent's fragile economic recovery. France, Germany, and Italy are seeing drops in consumer confidence as a result of the price shock, something that is leading analysts to downgrade their economy growth targets. A slow growth economy with inflation pushing up the cost of production will almost inevitably lead to shortages at the supermarket. Everyone buy canned goods. Buy canned goods. In an effort to quell fears over rising food and energy prices, European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde insisted inflation will soon stop rising. We know you, I'm pretty sure, didn't they say that like 6 months ago? We know you will see higher inflation this year. There is no question about that, she said Wednesday. But we are also seeing some of those factors that fuel inflation today, energy and food, that will stay high. But we don't forecast them to continue to move higher and higher. Oh, well, isn't that nice? Because you also said that in the past as well. Now, as for BlackRock, keep a close eye on absolutely everything that they are doing. BlackRock are buying everything, especially homes. Especially homes. They are basically, if you are a first time buyer and you want to go in and get yourself a little mortgage and put a deposit on a nice little place, there are certain areas that you will now not be able to go anywhere fucking near because BlackRock are going in to like areas that have houses for sale, and even if the owners aren't intending to sell, BlackRock are knocking on people's doors and going, hey, we'll buy your house at 30%, well, up to 30% above the market value. Cash in hand. Boom, here you go. And a lot of people are selling and then moving out of these places and going into places like the countryside and so on. But BlackRock are then renting these properties out to people. And there has been talk of a certain organisation known as the World Economic Forum, who have a certain plan in place that they call the Great Reset, and everyone goes, where basically you will own nothing and you will be happy. Absolutely everything will be owned by the government and corporations, and then through the profits gained from your labour, you are able to rent them. So you wouldn't own a car, you would rent a car. You wouldn't own a house, you would rent a house. And then these companies and corporations and governments would obviously reserve the right to refuse to allow you to rent from them. I wonder what reasons that they could have for refusing that. Maybe it could be something you've done. Maybe it could be the way that you think. Maybe it could be some things that you have said about the way things currently are. Like super form of socialism. That's okay. You will own nothing and you will be happy. You will live in the pod. You will eat the bugs. You know, that type of thing. And BlackRock are one of the main people as well. They are buying up home. And basically whenever a home like gets sold in an area for 30% above the market value, that drives the rest of the fucking prices up. Right? Or this home last sold for this amount. So if you're wanting to buy this home, expect to pay a lot more than that. Right? And then some people go, wow, our property value is going up. Wow, this nice man in the black suit and the soulless eyes just offered me 20% above the market value. Yeah, hell yeah, I'll take it. Eventually, it's going to come to a point where a lot of people are going to have a lot of money. They just won't be able to buy any homes with it. And then what will happen is they'll introduce a little thing that goes, oh, you have this much money, you owe this much tax. And then you won't have the money for very long because it's all gone in taxes now. Yeah, BlackRock, this whole entitled generation, I'm sorry. If people want to be able to work a job and then use their money to buy property, that's not entitled. That's naturally the way things are. That's called the free market. Something that BlackRock, everyone goes, the free market, free market. We don't have a free market. We definitely do not have a fucking free market. We don't. And BlackRock are exploiting that. But yeah, see how these names, BlackRock, World Economic Forum, the Great Reset, you're going to be hearing those terms an awful lot over the next few years. And one of the things that people say, oh, the Great Reset's fucking conspiracy theory. And it's like, it's not. It's not. The World Economic Forum are going on national television saying, we have a plan in place called the Great Reset where you will own nothing and be happy, right? It's not a conspiracy theory. They are literally going on TV and telling you they are doing it. That's the equivalent of like the British government or any government coming out and saying, yeah, we were going to assassinate Assange. Yeah, the chemtrails are real. Yeah, half of us are all fucking lizards. And like admitting it on TV and having conferences with all world leaders all going, yes, we agree and support this. Right. And then people still going, oh, that stuff's just conspiracy theory. It's like, no. They've turned around, they've showed their cards, right? This is something that's happening. This is something that they plan to do, and BlackRock is one of the, it's definitely, an ace of spades in the deck. So keep an eye on the name BlackRock.